We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Kurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Zelenskyy says Ukraine ready to hold new elections, will send revised peace proposals to Washington within a day. Australia ban on social media for children under 16 kicks in with varied reactions. Prime Minister Albanese says it will protect their childhood. Cambodia vows fierce response in ongoing dispute with Thailand. Thailand says Cambodia would have to show sincerity and make the first move to de-escalate. Government orders Indigo to cut flight operations by 10%, aimed at stabilizing the airline's operations and reducing cancellations. India crushed South Africa by 101 runs in Qatar to go 1-0 up in the 5-match T20 International Series. And on to the latest update on Ukraine-Russia conflict now. Ukraine is to present a revised peace plan to President Donald Trump's administration on Wednesday after weeks of negotiations which have failed to produce an agreement. Now, in an audio message, Zelenskyy said a revised peace plan now contained 20 points, though there was still no agreement on Russia's demand that Ukraine surrender occupied territory, which has become the major sticking point in negotiations. He said new components of the deal hashed out with the British, French and German leaders in London on Monday are ready for US review. The comments after meeting European and NATO leaders.
We are talking to the Americans and we are already talking to the Europeans. And I am very glad that we have involved our European partners. There are 3 documents. The first document is 20 points. It is constantly changing. This is normal. It is a living structure that should be of interest of Ukraine, Europe and the world. The second document is security guarantees. We are working on it. I am waiting for the appropriate proposal from our military and from their dialogue with the American. And all this need to be combined with the principle of collision of the willing.
Well, President Zelenskyy also said he was ready for elections, calling on US and European partners to help ensure security for the poll during the conflict, adding that if security is guaranteed, the elections could be held in the next 60 to 90 days.
I am ready for the election. Moreover, I ask now, and I declared it openly, the United States of America to help me, including together with European colleagues, ensure security for the elections. And then, the next 60 to 90 days, Ukraine will be ready to hold the election. And I personally have the will and readiness for this. Next, since this is the case, I ask the deputies of the parties in principle or MPs to prepare the legislative proposal on the possibility of changing the legislative basis and the law on election during the martial law. I'll be in the Ukraine tomorrow. I expect proposal from my partners. I expect proposal from our deputies, and I am ready to go to the elections.
Well, a fierce border battle between Thailand and Cambodia raged for a second day and spread across 5 provinces on Tuesday as both countries accused each other of shelling the civilian areas. Cambodia's influential former Prime Minister Hun Sen said that Cambodian forces responded only after Thailand escalated the conflict. He stated that Phnom Penh had held back from returning fire for 2 days, even as Thailand launched air raids and tank attacks. Cambodia's defense ministry countered that its troops had to defend themselves, accusing Thailand of indiscriminate shelling of civilian areas, allegations Bangkok rejected. Well, Thailand said it would move forward with its military plans, with the foreign minister asserting that Cambodia must demonstrate genuine intent and take the initial step towards easing tensions, dismissing the possibility of outside mediation. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio issued a statement urging an immediate end to the fighting and a return to the de-escalation steps agreed upon at an October summit attended by Trump. And amid U.S.-Venezuela spat, the United States continued its build-up in the Caribbean. U.S. Marines were seen mobilizing armored vehicles and all-terrain vehicles. They are believed to be positioning in the area for drills. A heightened U.S. military presence has been seen in the Caribbean amid regional tensions. And Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum expects to reach an agreement with the United States over a water dispute as Mexican officials will meet with their U.S. counterparts. Now, Sheinbaum said that Mexico is limited in delivering more water by the country's own needs under the treaty and by the size of a pipeline which transports water to the Rio Grande, which she described as a physical constraint. Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump accused Mexico of violating a treaty that outlines water sharing between neighbors and threatened to impose an additional 5% tariff on goods from Mexico if it doesn't immediately provide additional water. And Yemen's main southern separatist group is claiming broad control across the south of the country, including in the port city of Aden. Port of Aden has served as the base of the Saudi-backed, internationally recognized government for a decade now. In an apparent major shift in power, the Southern Transitional Council, or STC, said senior figures from other groups had left Aden, including the head of the 8-member body that acts in place of the president and the prime minister. Since 2022, the STC has served in an administration that controls southern areas outside the grip of the Houthis under a Saudi-backed power-sharing initiative. Meanwhile, United Nations has condemned the Houthis in Yemen for sending some of the detained UN staff members to a special criminal court.
The United Nations personnel have been held incommunicado, some for many years, without any due process, in violations of international law. United Nations personnel, including those who are nationals of Yemen, are immune from legal process in respect to all acts performed by them in their official capacity. We call on the de facto authorities to rescind the referral and work in good faith towards the immediate release of all UN detained personnel of the United Nations, NGOs, and diplomatic community.
Well, moving on to crisis in Africa now, where AFC and M23 officials met in Goma as their commanders accused the government forces and Wazalendo militias of sowing chaos in the lakeside city of Uvira. Now, rumors of an approaching rebel column have sparked panic, but M23 fighters have not entered yet. Coordinator Colonel Nanga told a news conference that Burundian troops had withdrawn and that rival Congolese forces were now abandoning the city, leaving civilians to fend for themselves. Also, the violence has escalated just days after the U.S. hosted Rwanda and Congo for a ceremonial signing of a peace pact in Washington. And Czech students protested in Prague as President Petr Pavel appointed the billionaire leader of the populist ANO party, Andrej Babiš, as prime minister. Protesters took aim at Babiš's move to name as environment minister Filip Turek, the controversial leader of the motorist party which opposed EU climate and emissions regulations. Now, Babiš will take power from a strongly pro-Ukrainian center-right administration after his full cabinet is appointed on the 15th of December. While in Greece, farmers blocked the border with Bulgaria for several hours over delayed EU aid payments of more than 600 million euros. The delays were prompted by investigations into a corruption scandal in which some farmers, aided by state employees, allegedly faked land ownership to qualify for the payouts. Ongoing audits have slowed subsequent disbursements. The government, under criticism over the scandal, has said it was open to discussions and urged the farmers to terminate the blockades. Well, Australia has become the world's first country to ban social media for children under the age of 16, blocking them from platforms including TikTok, Alphabet's YouTube, and Meta's Instagram and Facebook. Tripti Tripathi has more on this.
Australia's young teenagers will soon be spared from endless scrolling online, all thanks to a landmark law passed in November 2024, which will roll out from Wednesday, December 10th. The Online Safety Amendment Social Media Minimum Age Bill 2024 bars children under 16 from having social media account on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese made a last-ditch push to convince hundreds of thousands of Australian adolescents that the law was for their own good.
You'll know better than anyone what it's like growing up with algorithms, endless speeds, and the pressure that can come with that. That's why we've taken this step to support you.
Many Australian teenagers, though, feel otherwise.
I'm going to miss leaks about games, like new games coming out or new things for games that I play. I don't know, I might maybe cry because losing connection with my friends, with ones that I've talked to, I've had since I was young, or ones that I met a couple years after when I was in kindy, pre-primary and stuff.
Government is certain about the imperativeness of weaning the under-16s from the mobile screens.
Above all, make the most of the school holidays coming up. Rather than spending it scrolling on your phone, start a new sport, learn a new instrument, or read that book that has been sitting there on your shelf for some time. And importantly, spend quality time with your friends and your family, face to face.
Companies that fail to comply could face penalties of up to $32.8 million. Meta's Instagram, Facebook, and Thread began deactivating accounts from December 4th. The law received harsh criticism from major technology companies but was praised by parents and child advocates.
We'd always regulated media in the public interest, and I think what the government's trying to do is to return some of the public interest. That's a good thing.
I think it cuts kids off from the community more than forcing them back out in real life. I think it just cuts them off from support as well that they could be accessing. So in general, I don't think this is a good thing.
Online discussion site Reddit condemned the social media ban but said it would comply with the landmark crackdown. Governments from Denmark to Malaysia and even some states in the US are planning similar steps. 4 years after a leak of internal Meta documents showed the company knew its products contributed to body image problems and suicidal thoughts among teenagers, while it publicly denied the link existed. With agency inputs, Tripti Tripathi report for DD India.
And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. President Draupadi Murmu to lead Human Rights Day celebrations in New Delhi today. India and EU conclude two-day talks on free trade agreements, set sights on finalizing deal by early 2026. And India's women's T20 international squad announced for Sri Lanka series. 2 under-19 World Cup winners earned the maiden call-ups.
This week on Defence Dynamics, India's battlefield gets a boost with new indigenous unmanned ground vehicles for mine warfare and frontline support. In geopolitics, we decode Asia's most volatile triangle, China, Japan and Taiwan, and why it matters now more than ever. We also ask the central question, shaping Asia's future. What does China really want? And in My Take, we look at Asim Munir's elevation as Pakistan's Chief of Defence Forces and his regional fallout. Catch it all on Defence Dynamics this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lepakshi Kuran, and moving on as flight delays and cancellations by Indigo continued for the 8th consecutive day on Tuesday. The Civil Aviation Ministry ordered the airlines to curtail its operations by 10% while continuing to cover all its destinations as before. Indigo is the largest domestic carrier in India and controls 60% of the domestic market. It operates 2,200 flights a day in the winter schedule. Dheeraj Das reports for more.
Amid Indigo's ongoing flight disruptions, India's Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu warned that no airline will be permitted to cause hardships to passengers through planning failures and non-compliance with regulations.
Safety in civil aviation is completely non-negotiable. India is a founding member of the International Civil Aviation Organization and remains firmly committed to the highest global standards of safety. Revised flight duty time limitations, scientifically designed to prevent pilot fatigue, are being implemented. These reforms are essentially for passenger safety.
The Civil Aviation Minister, who was speaking in Lok Sabha or the lower house of Parliament, informed the House that Indigo flight schedules are stabilizing.
The disruption caused by Indigo's recent operational failures is now rapidly stabilizing. Indigo's daily flights, which had fallen drastically to 706 on 5th of December, have recovered to over 1,800 flights yesterday and are expected to rise further today. All other airlines continue to operate smoothly across the country, and the airports are reporting normal conditions without crowding or distress.
Meanwhile, Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Civil Aviation, Madhusudan Shankar, visited the Mumbai airport on Tuesday to review the situation arising from the Indigo operational crisis and its impact on passengers.
Things are in control. We discussed with all the stakeholders, especially with the airport operators, ATC control managers, and other operators, things are going good. I discussed with the passengers along with my team. A lot of improvements happened, particularly today.
Another senior Civil Aviation Ministry official inspected Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose International Airport in the eastern Indian city of Kolkata. The official toured key passenger touchpoints, including airline help desks, booking counters, check-in areas, the security hold area, and departure gates. Even as nearly 500 Indigo flights were cancelled on Tuesday amid an operational meltdown, CEO Peter Elbers claimed that the airline is back on its feet and the airline was working to restore the network and flights on a war footing.
As of yesterday, we are back of flying to all our 138 destinations in our network, and our on-time performance has also been normalized. Earlier, we had indicated to normalize between the 10th and the 15th of December. I can confirm now that today, as of December 9th, our operations are fully stabilized, which means flights reflecting on our website are scheduled to operate with an adjusted network.
Meanwhile, India's aviation regulator, Directorate General of Civil Aviation or the DGCA, has cut Indigo's approved winter schedules by 10%. The airline has been directed to reduce operations across sectors, especially on high-demand, high-frequency flights, and to avoid single flight operations on a sector by it. Dheeraj Das for DT India.
And the National Human Rights Commission is celebrating Human Rights Day today, with President Draupadi Murmu gracing the event to be held at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi as the chief guest. The event will bring together government officials, diplomats, civil society members, human rights defenders and experts. The NHRC is also organizing a national conference on the theme Ensuring Everyday Essentials, Public Services and Dignity for All, aligned with this year's UN Human Rights Day theme, Everyday Essentials. Dr. P.K. Mishra, Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, will deliver the keynote address. The Commission said the theme highlights the importance of essential public services such as healthcare, education, housing, justice and social protection. In ensuring dignity and equality, it noted that responsive governance and efficient service delivery are key to fulfilling constitutional guarantees of justice, liberty, equality and dignity. And India and the US Foreign Office consultations were co-chaired by Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri and US Under-Secretary of State Alison Hooker in New Delhi on Tuesday. The consultations provided an opportunity for a comprehensive review of the India-US Comprehensive Global Strategic Partnership. Well, the two sides discussed key bilateral issues, including trade and investment, defense cooperation, the Trust Initiative, energy cooperation, including civil nuclear collaboration, technology, critical minerals, and trusted supply chains. The discussions also covered regional and global developments of mutual interest, with both sides underscoring their shared commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific. Both sides also welcomed the steady progress across existing dialogue and mechanisms and agreed to give momentum to the implementation of catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerated commerce and technology, or compact for the 21st century to drive transformative cooperation across key pillars of the partnership. And a two-day marathon discussion between India and European Union concluded in New Delhi on Tuesday, providing strategic guidance to the teams negotiating a bilateral free trade agreement. EU's Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security, Maros Sefcovic, held meetings with India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman during his two-day visit. Sefcovic's visit took place against the backdrop of the technical discussions held from 3rd to the 9th of December in New Delhi across key chapters of India-EU FTA, covering market access for goods, rules of origin, services, technical barriers to trade, and sustainable development. Two sides look forward to continued cooperation towards a mutually beneficial India-EU FTA, which they aim to finalize at the most by the first quarter of 2026. And on to some sports news now. India defeated South Africa in first T20 International in Qatar on Tuesday to take 1-0 lead in the 5-match series. India's bowling attack produced an all-round performance to bowl South Africa out for 74 runs. Arshdeep Singh, Varun, Akshar Patel and Hardik Pandya ensured that no South Africa batter got going. Well, earlier, Hardik Pandya smashed an unbeaten 59 to power India to 175 for 6 in 20 overs. For South Africa, pacer Lungi Ngidi scalped 3 wickets. And the Indian women's squad for the home 5-match T20 International Series against Sri Lanka was announced on Tuesday, with 2 promising youngsters receiving their maiden senior team call-up. G. Kamalini and Vaishnavi Sharma, both part of India's Under-19 Women T20 World Cup winning squad, were named in the 15-member team. Harmanpreet Kaur will lead the side, with Smriti Mandhana named as a deputy. The 5-match series will begin on the December 21st in Visakhapatnam. This will be India's first T20 international assignment since lifting their maiden ODI World Cup trophy last month. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts for the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.